Hi.
Hello.
How's everybody doing? Hope having a great Monday afternoon.
Good to see everyone. Did you stream last week?
Nah. We were going to. I forgot what happened. I think
Was
I
it the
probably just said,
storm? Like, didn't you guys? Were you guys in the
"Oh,
throes of a blizzard or?
yeah." We were just sort of preparing for the snow, which definitely happened. It definitely snowed.
Yeah,
The
that's
most we've
crazy.
ever seen in our lifetime,
Yeah,
which
we don't have any
7 inches.
snow. We don't have any snow here. We lost our snow. It briefly got above freezing before I left, and then it just plummeted into the basement. Scotty, don't bother catching up on double time. You missed nothing. You missed nothing.
That's like 4 seconds. Oh, he missed
It's
the
just not
intro.
worth it. Yeah, it's just not worth it. We said nothing. So, but yeah, you guys, that was crazy. I mean, exciting for your kids though, because like they've never seen that before, right?
Yeah, okay, except we don't have like a storage of winter clothing.
Oh yeah,
We
they couldn't go
have light
outside. Yeah,
jackets. We don't
yeah,
have gloves because why the hell would we need
yeah,
those? So they did go out there. They wore some socks on their hands.
yeah.
Tried to
Yeah.
build a snowman, but it was so dry that snow wouldn't stick together. So couldn't really do that. I built a
Well, that's
little
when
crappy
snow is
one.
really cold. It doesn't stick well. Snowman
Oh, it
snow
was
needs to be kind of the wetter, heavier stuff.
Yeah, that's what we're used to. When it does snow every 5 to 10 years, is a little bit of slushy snow, which you can build
Yeah.
a snowman out of that. But yeah, it was thick, powdery, dry snow.
Wow. That's really cold when it's powdery snow. It's got to be like 20 degrees or lower for it to be
Yeah, it
powder.
was. We got to single digits for a night too, and it
I
took
actually, I
2 days for the snow to
prefer,
melt.
I mean, if I have to have snow, which I would rather not, powdery snow is a lot nicer. It's
Yeah,
easier to shovel, it's easier to walk in.
I didn't shovel shit. Like,
Well, you didn't have to because it melted.
no,
So,
it
but
took two
like,
days. We just weren't going to go anywhere
yeah,
because
2
everything's
days is
closed.
nothing. I mean, if you live in Wisconsin, like, you've got to shovel because, like, it's never gonna go
Yeah,
anywhere.
just accumulates.
So, yeah, I mean, shoveling snow is a part of life, or in Iowa, like, yeah, so but up north, people have, like, their own personal snow blowers. Like, my parents have a huge snow blower that they use for cleaning the walks and the drive. So, it's a different life. And like Jake, he pays someone to plow his he has a tractor. So and he pays his neighbors to like plow his drive so he can go to work. It's a
Yeah,
different life. It's a different life.
for sure. I
Fish Tank
mean,
Bar
just
points out that you can remove powdery snow with a leaf blower. True. I mean, when it's really, really light, you can just blow it out of the way. And it's actually better to get on top of that because if you don't, it compresses and then it's really hard to move and it turns to ice on your sidewalks. So, in case you want to move up north, this is, yeah, why
the
people have to shovel snow because it goes nowhere. And like, so, my
the
mom
city
was
shut down for us for 2 days,
yeah,
so it
and the
wasn't a big
city does
deal.
not
It
shut
melt.
down up here.
Mhm.
Like, if there's a blizzard, people still have to go to work. My mom was a nurse in labor and delivery, so she still had to go to the hospital even if there was a foot of snow. So my dad would get out there with a snowblower and clear the drives, and we have plows that come and clean the roads. So, like, you have to be careful and go slow, but, like, you can get around. Nothing shuts down up here. That's just life.
Well, yeah, and what happened down here in terms of medical staff, is they basically hunkered down. They brought an overnight bag and just
Yeah.
planned on sleeping through, like, just staying there.
Yeah, I mean, and in the snow, with 7 inches with no plows, I mean, I could probably drive in it with the truck. I mean, it's a Ford F-250. I could
Well,
probably.
I mean, it's the South. People don't give a shit about being told to stay home or anything
Well,
like
and
that.
they
It's
don't
just
know how to drive. They don't know how to drive in
no,
it
they don't know how
because,
to
like,
drive. They had to
I
shut down bridges because they're just accident after accident after accident, and finally they're just like,
yeah,
okay, stop driving. Sorry, kids, don't drive.
yeah. I mean, I'm not
Ugh,
going to say we don't have accidents up here. I mean, especially like the first big snowfall of the
yeah,
year. Like people will do dumb shit, but you have to drive nice and slow. Yeah, Texas did not lose power. That is wonderful. That's wonderful. So it got to -5 up here. We didn't have snow. We just had a cold snap, but
you didn't experience any of that.
no, I didn't because I was in Colombia. So last year, I also went on the coldest week of the year, and it was -17. And I'm back in time for the heat wave because it is going to get up to 50 degrees here next weekend. Today, it got up to 36 because there's a warm front coming in. And there's only one day in the next 10 days that it's going to be below freezing for a high. So, not bad.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Wet Your Weather. Okay, but to be fair, Annette will fall asleep if we talk plants too. So there's really no winning there. Yeah.
I mean, weather does affect fish keeping.
For sure.
I mean, water changes are really, really cold this time of year. So, like, you got to be careful you don't freeze out your fish.
My canna was blooming up until the snow, and now, it's dying. Everything.
I don't know that it'll come back. I mean, cannas do grow up there, like in the ditches.
Like if I just cut it all down, you think anything will come back? Or
yeah,
I'm also okay with starting over, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, I have some in the basement, so I could maybe send you another piece. But I would just cut back the dead stuff because it's dead. It's just dead. So I would just cut it back with clippers or scissors or whatever you've got.
Yeah.
It may or may not spring back to life, but probably it will. Hello, Ryan. Welcome.
Made his first stream.
You made it. We do talk about things other than the weather.
Yeah, we talk about, we're talking about cannas now, and Candy said it should come back from the roots.
They're in our ponds. Yeah, and I have mine stored in the basement because, that they're not going to survive our winters. So I stored a good sized chunk of it. So hopefully I'll be able to resuscitate it because that was my favorite canna. Hello, Lisa. Welcome.
Lisa the Wolf, first timer.
Excellent.
Yeah, I'll have a few new people from the video. I actually made a content. I edited and published a video last week.
You did, and I watched it this morning, and it was really good.
Thank you.
It was really good. It was nice. It was weird to see my face in the video so much.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
I'm like, oh, there I am again. So, yeah, but I mean, weather doesn't. You have to make sure your heaters work because my house is set at. I mean, it's set at 70 degrees, but when it's down to -5, even with the new furnace, there's no way my house was above 62 degrees. There's just no way. It's too drafty. It's too cold. So you have to make sure your heaters work really well. That's important. But I was checking in with my Inkbird, and it never got below 74.5. My takes are set at 75. So
that's good.
Yeah, so I felt pretty good. So Emily's suggesting you give your cannas a little extra potassium. So potassium in terrestrial plants tends to favor blooming. I would actually, if I would give them like a general purpose fertilizer, probably.
I thought that was phosphorus.
You're right. And it's the middle number, NP. You're right. It's the middle number, phosphorus. It encourages blooming, which I would want it to encourage it to produce more leaves. So that's a little more nitrogen would help. I would say if you did anything, just pop a pond tab in there. But
like right now, really? Or should I just kind of wait?
I wouldn't do anything right now. It's pretty dormant right now. It's not going to grow much. I would wait till probably March for you guys, right? Like that's kind of when things start warming up.
February, really. I mean, into February, it depends. Like we could also get a freeze.
I don't think there's any value in fertilizing a plant that's not growing. So, when plants are dormant, you're just wasting fertilizer. So I would fertilize in the spring. Just pop a pond tab in there and see what happens. But as long as the meristem did not get damaged, and so in a canna, the meristem, which is So meristem is tissue where the divisions start from. So like, you know, in a stem plant, they grow from the tips. And then when you trim them, they shoot out from the buds. So where they're shooting out from, or the lateral buds. So that tissue is called a meristem.
That was the issue when I tried to send you that canna again, is I wasn't paying attention. Yeah.
It just yeah, you need, and those are little growth points in cannas because they're monocots like lilies or onions or garlic, and they shoot up from little growth points from the rhizome. So, hey Brian, good to see you.
And we have a couple of new names popped in too. Blucineer.
Welcome.
Didn't recognize that name, so welcome in. And
love seeing a new person.
Will.
I love that name.
Yeah.
Thank you. So this tank is not doing great. You can't tell from here, but so I came back and the lights were off, which I mean it was late at night. It was like almost 11 o'clock when I got home. And I thought, oh, all the fish are fine, good enough. And that is honestly, in the end, if the fish are fine, I'm okay. But the filter is dying and it's barely moving any water. And it is exploding with various algae. And this tank almost never has algae. So
well, I have changes, a little bit of neglect. Yeah.
Yeah. I think good circulation is really important for planted tanks because it circulates the nutrients, the CO2. It prevents stagnant spots from happening. So I do think good circulation is important. And this filter is on its last legs. I mean, things are just barely moving in there.
And I mean, water column fertilization is kind of the key with yours as well as mine. Like we have our aqua soil, and I don't know when's the last time you've like added more to it. I typically don't.
I mean, I topped off the front. I put a little bit more in the front because that had gotten a little thin, and it's hard to plant foreground plants in a half inch of aqua soil. So I did top that off a little bit. But with bad circulation, it's not great for the plants. And the fish don't like it either. They like a lot of circulation too. Thankfully, there's always a little bit of circulation from the hydroponic wall, which that's up there. So there's a little teeny tiny pump. So yeah. All right, Bipolar Fish Keeper says, I finally got my 20-pound CO2 cylinder filled. Well, it's going to last you a while.
Well, plants are happy. If it's in a 400-gallon tank.
Yeah, they don't like going out with CO2 very long. Yeah. And some plants suffer more than others. So in my experience, Blixa japonica is one that just melts without CO2. Monte Carlo just melts. Other things will be fine. They just lose a little bit of their sheen. So, for instance, there's a big, there's a Haidai pearl sword, and it's not as red. It doesn't look as bright and colorful, but I mean, it doesn't die. It just slows down. So, yeah. So, Eyeball Pirate says hydroponic wall. Well, let me show you.
Oh, yeah.
So, I bought this, a couple of years ago? I've had this for about 2 years now, I think. And so this is made by a company called Aqua L. And I got it from Europe. And oddly enough, from like a sporting goods store. Like, I don't even know why they had it. But it was not expensive. However, I cannot recommend this product because the lights that come with it were shit. The pump that came with it was shit. I had to like completely replumb it. However, that said, I love it. It's awesome. It's so hands off. I do almost nothing to it. Once in a while, I trim back the plants that are up there. It has these little cups. You can see right there.
You say it's not expensive, but given the fact that you had to replace the light and the pump on it, and all you really got were like a plastic containers out of the price of it, it's a little expensive.
Yeah, I mean, with shipping, it was about $120. It's probably more than that now. But I mean, honestly, $120 if it had come with a functioning light and pump.
Yeah, that'd be pretty good.
But I ended up like going through a couple pumps to get one that worked. They're just cheap little mini pond pumps. The pump I have in there now is, I don't know, it's like $4 pump. It's It's nothing fancy. But let's see if you can see up to here. I don't know if you can or not. Woo! I knocked my leg down. You know, I'll see my fuzzy pajama pants. I don't know. You can see the water coming right here, and then
a little trickle of it.
It trickles through the tower and then returns to the tank. So it works really slick, and I love it. Once in a while it clogs, no big deal, and I just clean it out, but I don't do anything to it. And those plants are so happy, and so many things do well. And I did eventually put a couple of like clip-on lights there, which is great because I don't get a lot of sunlight in that corner. So, but yeah, I love that hydroponic wall. And in the end, I'm glad that I got it to work with the help of aquatic moose. But yeah, it was a pain in the ass, and I hate DIY. Like that's not part of the hobby I enjoy. So yeah.
So it's a new name as well. Mandarin Gobi.
Welcome. Someone who perhaps also likes salt water. That's exciting.
And Bougie says, Kelly, 10,000% I think circulation is one of the most neglected topics regarding planted tanks. That and surface gas exchange.
Yeah, yeah, it's so important. It's so important for the health of your fish too, because like I don't run air stones, so I have.
But you've got a spray bar with it is rippling the water at the surface.
Yeah, and you can maybe see it a little bit right there.
And it used to be the old myth, like where people who were injecting CO2 were like doing everything they possibly could to keep all the CO2 in the water, like it was some kind of valuable resource.
CO2
and neglecting, that important oxygen in the tank as well. Like you can have both at the same time.
Yeah, and, CO2 is cheap. You can
just crank it up
more. And like if your tanks have an oily film on top, like a protein film, you need more circulation. Now, however you want to do it is up to you and your maker, I guess. I mean, you do what you want. Like if you want air stones and sponge filters, all good. I like canister filters. People who have sumps have tons of circulation. It's just not an issue there. Mm-hmm. So however you want to do it, but your tanks are not going to be very happy or healthy without good circulation. And the rating on filters, in my opinion, they're underrated. So I usually look for something. If it says it's good for a tank up to 90 gallons, it's probably good on a 40 breeder.
Yeah, well, most of them, their gallons per hour rating is based on an empty canister.
Right. And, I have sponges in mine, or sometimes a little bit of like a little bit of ceramic ring media. So, yeah. And so 186 Element points out my Episto doesn't care for flow. Every fish is different. What they like. Bettas don't like a ton of flow. I recommend that you still have lots of circulation, but that you diffuse it with something like a spray bar.
And so circulation doesn't necessarily mean turbulence.
Right. I mean, it's not blasting in here. And there's an FX6 on here. It's not blasting. But because there's a spray bar. So it's turning over lots of water.
Yeah, you can put a baffle on the output. Like I've had on the fluval flexes and stuff, you could put a sponge on the outflow, and there's still tons of water coming through. But your fish, like I had a double half moon betta, like one of the frilliest freaking fish in the world. And it was fine, but there was still a ton of circulation. Circulation is not the same as turbulence.
Important. And if you have dead spots in your tank, you'll oftentimes get algae there. And you can fix that by putting a little power head on that or something. So, and Emily points out plants also break up the flow. Very true. And your decor, your rock work, all your hardscape breaks that up. And that gives your fish a place they can rest if they want. But I noticed that a lot of fish, they like to play in the flow. They really enjoy it. Rainbows really like it. Danios really like it. So it just depends on your fish. But I would argue that even some of the fish that people are saying don't like flow, maybe they do. I mean, where are they coming from nature? Like if they're from a stream or a river, think of the current.
And I mean, I think it's important that regardless of whether it's like a fish that loves fast flowing water, there's always areas you should have in your tank where they can go and
where they can rest a little. And that's just, I mean, most of us aren't keeping empty tanks. So, I mean, look at how full these tanks are. There's
Right.
plenty of places for the fish to rest if they want that. So, you know,
So Mandarin Gobi was asking, what better, gravel or sand for the plant to get nutrients in the substrate? I think it's the same when you're using an inert substrate like gravel or sand.
yeah, I mean, what do you like? It's up to you. I personally don't really like either one. My favorite substrates are aqua soils. They cost a little more money, but they're
Mhm.
worth it in my opinion. Right now, I would say my favorite of the ones I've tried is Fluval Stratum or Biostratum. Either one's fine. I think they give your plants a really good head start because they have some nutrients in them. They also provide something called cation exchange capacity, which is where they can draw positively charged ions, so cations from the water column, so magnesium, calcium, and that makes it available to the roots of your plants. So that makes, that gives your plants a boost too. They also lower your KH, which plants love low KH because it makes the CO2 more bioavailable for them. So even if you don't inject CO2, it's always beneficial to lower KH unless your KH is already 1 or 0, in which
Yeah.
case I still would like aqua soil. They are more money though, you know.
And they don't last forever, but
They
at the same
last a
time,
long, long time.
they
They
do.
last for years, and maybe you have to add a little. I mean, I've added like a little pitcher full here and there in spots where it's looking kind of crumbled or
and I
dead,
haven't
but
even done that, and I haven't had an issue. It's to me, it's like it's the ultimate way to start a tank because
yeah.
you're giving the plants everything they need from the jump, and then you kind of get into this habit of water changes and fertilization and just proper
Mhm.
husbandry,
Yeah.
and you don't necessarily need the aqua soil. You don't have to totally rely on it.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think,
But
like, what's my longest running aqua soil tank? Probably close to 5 years now.
yeah, this one's going 5 years, right? And I mean, I wouldn't say that the substrate's broken down. I mean, there are places where like the roots are really thick and really strong, and maybe it's pulverized a little. Still works fine. I have added a little bit here and there. We're talking about like a little liter pitcher full, add a little bit here and there. And that's just because it was a little thin in those spots and it makes it hard to plant.
Mhm.
But you know,
Yeah, but I mean, I have gravel and I have sand and I have layers and I have different types of gravel. And what I've found is that every single one of them grows plants. I
yeah.
mean, well, they're not responsible for the plant growth, but they are a thing that holds the plants down so they can grow upward.
I mean, some things are easier to plant in than others. I would say that
Right,
like pea gravel is pretty hard to plant hard earth. Sorry,
sand
fine
is pretty
foreground.
damn good, and
Pretty
yeah,
easy to plant in. But
coarse
like pea
sand is my
gravel is
favorite.
pretty hard to plant in my opinion. So, but it still works. And maybe you just don't grow those foreground plants. And maybe you can't anyways because you need CO2. So,
Mhm.
but you pick the one that you like. Choose something that's inert. So, like, don't use a ragonite sand. You don't need to raise your KH. You want to go the opposite way. So, but an inert sand, I know a lot of people like the black diamond sand or black beauty sand. I've used those before and they work fine. I've used silica sand before, works fine. I have used natural gravel before, works fine. I do think aqua soils though are worth the money if you have the budget. So
So Blue Sneer says, talking about circulation, one info usually missing from pumps descriptions is their noise level.
yeah, I mean certain brands I think are quieter than others. Fuval FXs are really quiet. The Awaza ones are really quiet until they break.
Yeah, really.
Um,
Well,
but
I wonder if he's talking about air pumps because that
oh
can vary
god, yeah.
widely.
You know
My
those
favorite thing to do with an air pump, and it's handy if it actually allows for that, is I will hang it from its power cord.
yeah,
Like, and
that
it's not
helps.
the pump housing itself is touching nothing, just the power
That
cord is
helps.
dangling from something.
I
And
mean,
that's
if
like
you
the
have
best way to decouple the
if
noise.
you have a fish room, the linear piston air pump is a good way to go
Yeah.
because they are super quiet. super, super quiet. And they're cheap to run. They're not cheap to buy, but they're kind of indestructible. And you can run, I don't know, like 50 to 200 tanks on one or something. I've never used one, so I can't really tell you too much about them, but they're a popular option. As far as like little air pumps go, I like the little cheapy ones from the co-op. I use those for my brine shrimp.
Yeah.
But I don't use an air stone in my tanks anymore. They kind of drive me nuts. I don't like the bubbling. And I don't find them necessary. However, a lot of people do like to use them, and that's good. So it's good too, you know.
Zen Ginger says thoughts on using a circulation pump at the surface temporarily to prevent duckweed from growing back if I remove the water lettuce and try to kill it in my CO2 tank.
I think
It's worth a shot.
It's worth a shot. I mean, honestly, I've never been good at growing duckweed, and maybe part of that is I'm trying to get my camera a little higher. There, getting off my head. Anyways, I think part of it is because I always have good circulation at the surfaces. My ponds usually have some circulation at the surfaces too, but I don't know. I'm just not good.
I've had some really resilient duckweed though.
Yeah, I would
I've
give it
had
a
some
shot.
that
And
just
power
kept-
heads are cheap.
Right.
So you could put a little power head on it and try it. But
Yeah.
I don't know what you have for a filter on that tank, Zenny, but like move the spray bar up. There's no it's all benefit to have a spray bar that's right below the surface, in my opinion.
Yeah, and you might have to crank up the CO2, which like
risky.
her 40 gallon, I think, is her 5-pounder lasts her maybe 4 to 5 months. My 5-pounder is lasting me now that I'm like dialing it in and just getting a little bit nuts with it. And I have the spray bar at the top. And so like the CO2, it's like you can't even count the bubbles on a 40 gallon. Seems a little absurd, but it's just kind of the reality of the way it's set up. And now I'm like at 3.5 months. So I think it was just delivered to today. I upgraded that one to a 10-pounder because
I like 10-pounders. I have
10-pounder on a 40 should last a little while.
Yeah, I have a 10-pounder driving 2 tanks. I don't think I use as much CO2 as some people do. I just don't find I need it. My case,
you're just more of like a touch and go, like monitor the fish and monitor the plants, and if they're growing fine, then that's fine.
Yeah, I always really keep a close eye on my rainbows. I don't want them to be twitchy. I don't want them to be unhappy. They seem to be the ones that bug out first.
Rainbows and the angelfish I have.
Yeah, I could see that. So I just keep a close eye on them, but it takes me to get through a 10-gallon on these 2 tanks, probably 4 months. If I had room for a 20, I would get one, but I don't think it'll fit underneath here. So Hip Hop Hillbilly has a question on jungle valves. Is there a right or wrong way to trim them? Last time I trimmed them, they seemed to die back a bit and then come back to life. Wondering if I trim them too wrong or too much. So those grow from the base.
Mm-hmm.
So just like we were talking about the lilies, they have a meristem that's in the rosette. So think about the grass in your lawn. They've evolved to withstand herbivores that go munch across the top, and then they grow back. So that's why they have that kind of rosette structure. But so don't trim too close, and they'll grow back. But I would also say it's good to thin your valves.
Take out some of those runners because they will take over.
Yeah, they'll kind of choke the tank out.
And I've noticed with some valves that you can just trim midway up the leaf and it will be okay for a pretty long time.
Yeah, it'll grow from the base too, just like just like your lawn will. I mean, it's not good to, they don't advise that you trim your lawn all the way to the bare grass, right?
I think like Italian Val is the most sensitive to that, to trimming midway. I think the only Val I have right now, the most prominent Val I have is the giant Val gigantea. Unless you have a giant tank, I wouldn't recommend it, but
it's a little too bad. Yeah. I think it'd be cool in a pond, maybe.
I mean, it's the rubra variety, so it has like a nice blushing at the top of it. So yeah,
and I've seen it growing up here. It's native to the United States, and it's very pretty how it kind of waves in the current, and it's blush, kind of a blush color on top. It's pretty. So I usually trim from the base, but try thinning it. That helps too.
Yeah.
Scotty says he likes his sponge filters.
Sponge
there you
filters are
go.
fine.
Sure. Especially if you have a lot of tanks. It's the cheapest way to filter.
Yeah.
They work. I just don't really like them. I don't find there quite enough water movement for my taste, and I find them loud and they take up a lot of space. However, if you have like 5 million breeding tanks, like it's the way to go. Connor, is this a new person? Welcome.
I've seen Connor around, but if you're new to this stream, welcome.
Welcome.
So he says, I love Planet Tanks, spent money at Aquarium Co-op and local fish store, but they start to die after 6 months. I dose, trim, they always slowly decompose. Weekly water change, maybe not enough poop or fert.
You need some fert. I mean, if you're injecting CO2, your life's going to get better. Tell us what your KH is. What are your water parameters like?
And also, what plants were you trying along with that?
Yeah, that yeah.
Because like a 6-month lifespan kind of tells me that you have some fairly resilient plants that are just kind of struggling against your water chemistry, and then eventually they succumb. And then fertilizer, if your KH is super high, the plants that you choose are not really compatible with that, then fertilization is just kind of
the fertilizer is not going to change anything. There's no point in fertilizing a plant that's not growing. So I mean, I lived in Iowa before I moved to Indiana. That's where I'm from. I lived in a town called Coralville, if that gives you some indication of how hot or how hard the water was. But my KH was 22 at least, because that was the maximum of the API test kit. Maybe it was higher. I don't know. My GH was also 22. And it was hard. It was really hard to grow. I mean, the water was hard, but it was hard to grow plants. And I injected CO2 and I still struggled. So, ways to get around that. Injecting CO2 is going to help. Using an aqua soil is going to pull your KH down a little. RO water is going to really help. You don't need to do 100% RO, but if you can cut your KH to something reasonable, it can help. And then plant selection helps too, like Steven said. You're just probably never going to be able to grow something like Rotella wallichii, but I can't either. Like my water is kind of medium hardness, and I can't.
And you're not missing out.
Yeah, I don't like Rotellas, so I don't really care. But there are other things that you can't grow. I would say that other than an Italian Val, I would say like regular Vallisneria americana is a good plant if your water is rock hard.
So I have never witnessed a coolie loach eating a snail. Shrimp, yes. Snails, no. But it doesn't mean they don't. And I've definitely heard a lot of anecdotes about.
Yeah,
loaches in general are snail eaters if they can get.
Yeah, I haven't had coolies since I was a little kid.
And
I don't remember any snails in that tank. But I was really little, and I'm really old right now, so I don't have personal experience as an adult with coolies.
I have like 30 something coolie loaches, like 4 different species of them with 3 puffers, and so obviously there's no snails. But I can't blame the coolies for that. And it's like I say I haven't observed coolies eating snails. I haven't observed the coolies really all that much. So it's possible when a fish is reportedly a snail eater, then it's always possible. It could depend on the snail, it could depend on feeding, it could be completely untrue.
So Selena Struthers asks, will no planaria, the product, kill bladder snails? I mean, I've heard that it will. I've never used that product.
Did Garage Aquatics, Ron, I feel like he just did an experiment with that, and I don't remember what his results were.
I have not had a planaria infestation because I have rainbow fish.
No, they love it.
They're going to eat. They'll be like free live food. So, yeah.
Yeah.
So Gordaki's Playground, that's a new name. Says Rotala loves my water. I would say most Rotalas are very easy plants. They love all water.
Yeah, rotundifolia for
And I
sure.
do too. Yeah, Rotala rotundifolia or like H-Ra or all those. It's kind of Wallachii. It's the really, really fine leaved ones. Those are the fussy ones. But if you have like KH probably under 3, it's an easy plant. It's a weed. Geek Boy has grown it, I think, and it's a weed for him. He has soft water. So Bionic Bigfoot says, I have Seattle soft water. Yeah, it's the good stuff. I'm
Must
jealous.
be nice.
Must be nice. Ryan had a question for me up here. Asked me, were you able to get some Val Jacobsi too? So that's the Val that's in that Gary was selling that's native to rainbow fish habitats. I did not. I'd love to see pictures of it, Ryan. Let me know what it looks like. In general, I don't really like Vals because they're invasive, but I would love to see it. Maybe it'd change my mind. I don't know.
Yeah, it'd be a lot of maintenance on that.
Yeah,
but if it looks nice, certain plants I'm willing to do some work on. Like I have this.
Val is usually not one of them though, because it's crazy invasive. It's crazy invasive.
Yeah.
There's a lot of meowing going on under here.
I thought it was our cat is occasionally walks by and goes. She's in her. She's kitties. Yowling.
She's a higher pitched meow. Come here, tiny kitty. Come here, meow, meow, meow. Oh yeah, tiny kitty. I would pick her up, but she doesn't want that.
No.
So, yep, this filter's cavitating. It's getting choked with CO2. It's barely moving. Oh, disappointing. Gotta get a new one.
Well,
so Emily suggests that maybe my rainbows are eating duckweed. And her bosemani seem to munch on it. Well, pretty much all my tanks have rainbows, though not all of them. But I'll say that I can't grow it in ponds either. So, and I've even like deliberately put duckweed in ponds before because I bought water lilies from Tricker and they are grown in tubs that have tons of duckweed on them. And I just went, fuck it, just throw them in. And it never proliferated. I got maybe about like, I don't know, a patch that big in a whole tub of duckweed the whole summer. Just never proliferated. I'm not good at growing it. So, yeah.
Let's see. I'm going a little, probably, I might have skipped a question. If I skipped over a question, I'm at right here where Connor's answering what his KH is. Feel free to re-ask the question. Tagging me would, make my name in orange, which would make it a lot easier for me to see because I'm bad at this sometimes.
So. All right. Connor's in Northeast Ohio. Okay.
KH
so you're up by Cleveland. Well, that's a big range. We need a little more precision than that.
Although none of that is going to like kill most plants.
Probably not.
He's trying all of the hard plants.
But I would say in general, that's a huge range.
But I use RO water sometimes. I've tried a lot of different plants. Everything I get vertical growth, lanceolites, and root growth.
Yeah. I wouldn't call your water terribly hard. Even if it's 8, I would call it medium. You do use RO sometimes. Okay. What is your light like? What's your light like? So you have the Aquarium co-op light. Okay, that's a pretty good light, but like
they get bright.
Do you have it over a huge deep tank? Are you running like only one fixture on a huge tank? I mean, so that could explain it too. Maybe it's not quite enough light. You need a lot more power to get to the bottom of a deep tank than you do on a 40.
Yeah,
like 90. I might throw another Chihiros on there. It could use a little more juice. It could use a little more. I mean, it's just harder to light deep tanks.
Although, I don't know if that would explain in every plant that it's just melting.
Because some plants don't need a lot. Like a Nubius doesn't need a lot.
And when I see
some
RO water, sometimes it makes me wonder, like, how widely are you shifting parameters? Because 0 to 8 is a big range, especially if that is what it is in your tank, depending on the time of year or whatever. Because that in itself could change just the way the plants produce enzymes, trying to adapt to that hard water.
I mean, plants like some consistency of KH and GH, I mean, within a couple points, like they're adaptable to some degree. and I do big water changes. Like I'll change 75% of my water at a time, but I always use my tap water. So it's not that different for KH and GH. So maybe that's an issue. Yeah, maybe light's an issue. I don't know what size is your tank? So you have root growth. Okay, well, that's good. Plants need roots. We've tried a lot of different plants. I mean, I would say the most bulletproof plants, I would say Anubias. I mean, it might get some spot algae, but it's not going to melt. It's not going to die. Valsnaria, I think, like not Italian Val, but like American Val, regular Val, jungle Val. I think it's pretty bulletproof. Those are two I would recommend if you can't get anything else to grow.
Bacopa's not so bad either.
Yeah, there's some stems that are pretty easy. Oh yeah, some like the high grows are easy, but those are hard to find because they're illegal.
Right.
And the ones that are not illegal are a little harder to grow. Brazilian pennywort, that plant is a weed. It will grow in anything.
Pretty much any crypt, yeah.
Hydrocodal leucocephala is Brazilian pennywort. That plant is just so invasive. Floaters, super easy. They're gonna shade out your other plants though, so it's a double-edged sword. Yeah, let us know what size your tank is. That could help. All right, Selena. Is that a new person too?
Yeah.
All these new people. Welcome, Selena. You lost an angelfish after installing CO2. I'm very sorry. That's frustrating. Some fish are more sensitive than others.
Yeah, and so before attributing it to the CO2, like I know, measuring your pH is not the most accurate thing in the world, but what I have noticed just from helping people on the Aquarium Co-op forum and in the Facebook group, most people, rightfully so, they start off very, very, very light on the CO2 because everyone's afraid of killing their fish, and they should be. Yeah. They should be cautious, but there's a point where you have to, you have to increase the CO2 gradually. And I think it's important to have at least a range, a knowledge of your range of pH and how the CO2 is affecting it. And also knowing your KH, and you can use that rough pH KH relationship to see how far off you are from that danger zone. Because like you could right now be doing a bubble a second in a 55.
Oh God, that's nothing.
Right. And you got like 5 ppm of CO2 in there.
It's nothing.
Like but
yeah, I would say if you did not see that fish gasping at the surface, CO2 probably did not kill it. It probably just aged out naturally, because the behavior I see from my rainbows and other fish when they are CO2 stressed is they gasp at the surface. So I know their behavior well enough after keeping them for years. I know when they start getting a little twitchy and kind of heading toward the surface too much, back it off. And I do think that there is value in pushing that parameter under observation so you can learn what that looks like.
Yeah, you got to babysit it, not to set it and walk away for several hours, but like your day is all about CO2. You got you can set alarms. That's what I got to do is I got to set alarms to go check it every hour.
Yeah. And the better your regulator is, the more money you spend on your regulator, the easier it is to dial that parameter in. There's a reason I spent the money on expensive green GLA, green leaf aquarium regulators. And that's because they set it and forget it. They dial right in, no problem. I can get my CO2 dialed in within 10 minutes. Whereas a shitty regulator like an Epson, couldn't take you a while and it could fail.
It's a little iffy. Really, really crappy needle valve.
Do not recommend. 0 stars. All right. Malaysian trumpet snails are hard to get rid of. And I got some Malaysian trumpet snails. Will they start breeding if there's food inside the gravel? Oh God, I hate those things. So if you have hard water, it is game over for you. So maybe I have gotten some Malaysian trumpet snails since I've lived in Indiana, but they have never proliferated. And part of that is because I inject CO2. And so the tank is acidic every day. So snail shells never.
Let me just say, as someone else who obviously injects CO2, Malaysian trumpet snails do not care. They are
I've not had a
so
problem with it.
resilient.
Well, let me tell you this: when I lived in Iowa and my water was rock hard, and there was a ton of calcium and magnesium in that water, and the pH was kind of high, Jesus Christ, there was nothing I could do. It was just disgusting. I mean, they would just climb out of the glass every day. I mean, you can watch your feeding, that helps. You could clean your gravel, that helps. But you may want to nuke it and start over too. I mean, I wouldn't blame you for that. It's gross. Ugh.
So, Barbara Jackson, is there a small sword plant? I've stopped growing them as they take over. Yeah, they grow into giants, but I think they're very pretty. Do. So for a 20 or a 40, I think the Haidai Pearl and a 40 as a background is great.
So Barbara, I have the Haidai Pearl right here. This is my 90 and it's in the front. It never gets any bigger than this. It's pretty nice. With CO2, it won't even get as big as this. It's pretty slow growing. It's easy to manage and it's pretty.
Yeah, and there's chainsaws. There's the Vesuvius. If you like those, they grow with runners. They're a little bit more.
They don't look like swords though. There's also the Echinodoris, a flame. I think that sword's a little hard to grow in my opinion. It's very small, but I don't know that I recommend it. I don't know that I recommend it without CO2 because it's a little hard to grow. But I would recommend Haidai Pearl. I love this sword, and I've got a couple babies growing. One of them is going to Dee Dee. This is slow to propagate. One is going to Dee Dee, but if I get a second one, Barbara, it's yours. I'll send it to you. So, remind me.
Nubius Gardoki says Nubius likes calcium boost too. Yeah, a lot of those tougher leaf plants, they're a little more calcium heavy, but it's not.
I wouldn't add extra calcium to them, like unless your water has none, like Steven's water does. Like my
and I add way more calcium than anything needs. It's just
Yeah, I mean, you really only need to add a GH boost if you have no calcium in your water. If your GH is above, let's say 2 or 3, I think you're gonna be okay. So, yeah. So Emily said she's going with the Haidai Pearls and her 65 on my recommendation.
They're great.
I love that plant. I love it. It's beautiful and it's very manageable.
If you want pain and suffering, but a beautiful sword, get yourself a Socarno sword. Nice red coloration and never stops. You'll have nightmares about it.
Well, the ones I got, I sent to Jorge.
Nice.
Because Mexicali fish keeper, because he has a 200-gallon tank. I couldn't deal with it anymore. It was too much. It was just enormous. So
even Jenna's Socarno that's in the it's one of our low energy tanks, and it took 2 years, but now it is reproducing like crazy.
Yeah, I just couldn't deal with it anymore. So Dee Dee's got some exciting plans. She's considering adding it to Heroes on her 90.
Them Chihuahua lights catching on.
Yeah, them Chihuahua lights. I got to tell you, for mine, Dee Dee, I would recommend getting one of the regular fixtures like the WRGB2, like 10 series or the regular series, whatever, of the WRGB2. They're the wide ones. And then I would add a skinny one too, because you need the coverage front to back. So I don't remember if you use lids, Dee Dee. That's part of why I need more light, is because I have lids. Lids cut down on your par, but I can't not have lids because I have rainbows. So, but yeah, that's cool. Love to see it, Dee Dee. Show us pictures if you do it. We always love what you're doing.
Wait. That was just a random guess. She said running my CO2 1 drop per second in 55. See, I guess I've been around the forums and Facebook enough to know that is exactly how people started off.
Yeah, it's not enough. I mean, even if your KH is straight up 0, which I don't know what your KH is, it's probably not enough. I mean,
oh wait, real quick.
My bubble counters are empty right now, or I would show you, but like in this 90, so I have a KH of 6, which is not super hard, but it's also not soft.
Yeah.
And they're going in
uncountable.
Yeah. So
I want to say hi to Elster, who's new.
Welcome.
didn't want to miss that one.
There's so many new people.
No issues. Just love the hobby. Wanted to say hi. That's
Love
totally
it.
fine too. I think.
Love it. Love it. Love it. That's great. Maybe we'll have issues later. So feel free to chat.
But hopefully not. Hopefully everything's going great.
Okay, Garducky's playground is using crushed coral. I don't really recommend crushed coral because I don't want to raise my KH. Period. End of story.
Right.
I don't want to run an aquarium on hard mode. Like it's just harder to grow plants, and every fish I've kept is pretty adaptable to all kinds of water as long as you do regular good-sized water changes.
Crushed coral is good if you're starting with 0 KH and you want a little bit of buffer. Yeah. But if you're doing frequent water changes, then it kind of offsets the KH boost.
Because it takes time for that water to dissolve the substrate to raise your pH and KH. I would never use it as a substrate. It's not suitable for freshwater aquariums. It is for saltwater.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Rachel's Socarnosaur died. There's got to be someone in the Fishfam who still has a Socarnosaur.
Yeah, I still do.
You've got one still? Okay.
I have that one. I have babies because, there's the surprise me option on the plant form. And if you click surprise me, then some people are going to get a surprise Socarno, a little plantlet that will grow into a horrific nightmare.
I put this in my 20 long. Oh God!
For a time, for a little while, absolutely. And then you uproot it. You see how long and vast the root system has become.
I had to ship it to Jorge in a trash bag because it would not fit in a gallon-sized Ziploc bag. I put it in a trash bag and sent it on his way. And I haven't heard otherwise. Presumably he's happy with it. But he has a 200-gallon tank, so.
Sleeper BBQ.
Is this a new person too?
They've been around, but not super long. They're fairly new to the community.
I mean, I love barbecue.
Who
That's
doesn't?
Great.
You don't like barbecue. I mean, get out.
Well, maybe you don't. I mean, you can also barbecue tofu, I guess, if you're
vegan. Exactly.
You can barbecue. I love grilled vegetables, All right, checking the CO2 every hour on a new setup or all the time. Just a new setup. So with your regulator, it needs a little bit of a moment to settle in.
Yeah.
And if you have an expensive regulator, a good regulator like a GLA, you can get there. It'll settle in within a few minutes, and it's not a problem. But if you have a cheaper regulator, you don't need to fuck around with it some to get it where you want it, because it'll all of a sudden shoot up bubble rate really high, or like crap out and do nothing. So you got to keep an eye on it. I would keep an eye on it like all afternoon.
Good. Even when I get my canisters refilled and I'm like familiar with the regulator, I still I gotta double check myself.
Yeah,
and I'll check on it.
And
I think when you are new,
regulator, I keep an eye on it. So Jake will usually change it on a Sunday night for me, and I will check on it like between until I go to bed. So a few hours, I'll just go over there, look at it, look at the fish, make sure they're not fussy. Make sure they're not twitching, and then I'll turn it down if I need to. But
if you're brand new to CO2, I think just spending a lot more time with the regulator and with the tank over time. Like when you set it up, monitor the bubble count, check your pH, check your KH, take pictures of your plants as well.
And look at your fish. Look at your fish. Yeah, if you see signs that they're gasping at the surface, that's your number. Don't forget about your drop checker. Forget about your your pH test and all that jazz. Like if your fish are telling you to turn it down, you got to listen to them. So, but I would say a good afternoon at minimum. Maybe you look at it all weekend the first time. So don't do it on a weekend where you're going to be gone all the time. So, but after that, it's after that day, I don't have to do anything. It'll be fine until it runs out. And then you'll be like, oh shit, I didn't even notice it was out. So.
Yeah, that's the one reason I still keep drop checkers in tanks, is because I see blue and I'm like, oh, let me check on that.
Yeah.
Otherwise it is kind of out of sight, out of mind.
Whereas for me, I have my diffuser. I have inline diffusers. I don't have, Steven has a reactor where the CO2 dissolves completely, but I have an inline diffuser that mists the CO2. So
Yeah.
I won't see the little bubbles. So that's how I know when it's out. But sometimes I don't notice. I mean, I'm like, oh shit,
I'm
I have no CO2.
not very attentive sometimes. I can hyper focus on dialing in one tank, and then the rest of the tanks don't exist for a little bit.
Well, and mine I went to Germany for 2 weeks in November, and it ran out like at the beginning of that. Oh well. So, all right, fish tank barn lost a saltwater tank to a bad CO2 regulator. Oh no.
Oof,
So
dumped.
saltwater people, I don't know a lot about this. Never kept a
It's for
saltwater
the
tank.
calcium.
For the Kalkwasser,
Yeah.
which is fun to say. And they use it so you have a little reactor of lime. Like they use like Mrs. Wage's pickling lime or lime from some other sort.
Mhm.
And you have CO2 bubbling, and that when it mixes with the lime, it makes your water more alkaline, which you want in a saltwater tank because they need and they chew through a lot of calc. If you have a lot of corals, they're assimilating a lot of calcium carbonate and magnesium carbonate into their exoskeletons. So you chew through a lot of that. So you need to replenish that. So that's why they'll use the calcium reactors. I mean, I've never personally done that. Take this all with a grain of salt or maybe of lime because I haven't done it. But yeah, that sucks. Saltwater fish are expensive. And all fish are precious, but that sucks. Yeah. So, I mean, moral of the story, get a good regulator, guys. Don't get the cheapest regulator. Don't buy an F Zone. Don't buy a Milwaukee. They're just not good. Yeah.
So Selena says, if I have a 59-gallon planted tank, no fish issue, should I raise the CO2? So is this the one you're talking about where you're
One
injecting
bubble per second.
CO2? Then yeah, with 1 bubble
Yeah.
per
Or
second.
push it. I mean, I don't know what your
Yeah.
KH is.
Yeah.
That
Measure your
would be helpful
KH.
to know. Yeah.
Google KH, pH, CO2 chart, and you'll see exactly what we're talking about. Your KH will never change from CO2 injection, but your pH will. And so when your pH drops, then that you use that relationship in the chart to know you're very approximate, but close enough with what we have at home to measure, other than our own 2 eyes.
But even if you live in Seattle and you have the world's lowest KH, I mean, they have RO water out of their tap. That's still not enough.
Right.
So
1 bubble a second at 55 is you're probably not noticing much of any change, but it is a starting point. You can see what it's doing to your pH. You can crank it up to 3 bubbles a second, even in a 55, and you can see what that does.
Fine. And get yourself a drop checker. They're cheap, and it doesn't work in every pH of water, right? Or every KH of water, but it works for most people, and it's kind of a good rough guide. And you want the drop checker water, not just so it starts out as blue, the indicator. You want it to be lime green. So yellow is danger zone. Green is not quite enough. Like this shade of green, it's not quite enough. You want lime green, like yellowy green.
Yeah.
So,
but of course,
they're a good starting tool.
Of course, that drop checker fluid is 4 degrees KH, and if you're dealing with like 20 degrees KH in your tap water, you might have a yellow drop checker before you got the appropriate amount of CO2.
They
So they're
really
good
only
indicators.
work
Rough.
if you have kind of mid-range
Right.
KHs. Because I have mid-range KH, and I can use a drop checker. I don't, because I prefer to just look at my fish. But almost assuredly, you'll be at least doubling that rate. Let's put it that way.
Selena Struthers, thanks for the super sticker.
Thank you for help putting Fat Kitty to college.
So a good way to raise pH but not add more minerals than that would just some kind of bicarbonate, like potassium or sodium bicarbonate.
Yeah. I mean, that's not something I would ever want to do in a planted tank. I want to do the opposite. It's beneficial to your fish and your plants to give them at least some GH, so minerals. and you would do that with a GH boost. You can
Yeah.
buy a powdered one. Lots of places sell them. But there is no scenario in which I would want to raise my pH. However, maybe you're keeping African cichlids, but they want more minerals too. So they want rock hard water. But bicarbonate of soda or potassium bicarbonate will work fine. You can get those. Well, baking soda you can get at the grocery store. It does not take much. It does not take much. But if you have plants, ask yourself why you want that. Ask yourself why you want that. And your fish probably are not the reason. Maybe you think it's the reason, but your fish probably don't care. Fish are very adaptable and like simple. What are the seriously fish? Like, they're not always right about that.
Well, seriously fish is going to be like, it'll thrive in a pH of 6.5 to 8 or something. And it's like, that's a wide range. And also still not true, because like it'll probably do fine in like 8.4, you know. It's
fish are very adaptable. They're very adaptable.
Extremely.
And pH in the wild changes over the course of the day. pH in my tank changes every day by a point or slightly more because I inject CO2. And my fish are happy and fine and have lived many, many years. So ask yourself why you want to do that.
Yeah, it's more the mineral depletion is what, like the change in parameters. Mineral depletion can be an issue for fish if it's a rapid change. Temperature obviously is a thing.
But GH, if you want more minerals, GH Boost is a good product. It's cheap. Steven uses it. I don't have to, but that's a good product.
Echinodorus parviflorus. Not familiar with that one. Let's see.
Nice to know that one. Thank you, Alec. Thank you for the tip. Maybe I will try that one if I see it. Good to know. Because I do love the look of swords. I just don't want one that like takes over a 90-gallon tank. If I had a 200-gallon tank, maybe I'd let it take over. But yeah. But it's always good to know another small to medium sword.
Yeah, I'm trying to find an image that's not just like the immersed pot on Google. Real quick.
Somebody asked above a good question of like what the hot rainbows were.
Oh, I'm sorry, I missed that, and I totally.
But because I love talking about what the hot rainbows are, and the person in the chat to answer that is Hoon Aquatics, because he keeps all the cool stuff because like he knows all the cool kids, and he breeds all these rainbows too, and he has a really, really good channel. If one of the mods could drop a link to it, where you can get really, really great information on that. Oh, it's Brian. There we go. Hot rainbow fish for 2025. Well, I just got my white whale rainbow, which is Melanitania synergos. And
but did you though?
Has those. Did I though? Ryan would agree I did.
Nice. It was nice.
It was a nice little story. It's very green, very pretty.
Yeah.
So Marcel has those, and Marcel is in your state. People always want pygmaea. That's never not going to be hot because I mean, Ryan can tell you more about them than me. I've never kept them. They do stay very, very small though, and they're not quite as zippy as other rainbows, maybe I've heard. So like you could keep them in like a 29 with no problem. I think that'd be reasonable. And they're pretty. They're pretty. So I think that's a good one. Other hot rainbows. I mean, those are the two that are coming to mind right now. I don't know, Ryan, what do you think? What's the must-haves and Brian's a really good breeder. So like give him good tips, like, because he'll breed them and do a good job.
Okay, what new fish is Jenna getting for Valentine's Day? If I can find them in stock, she wants drape fin barbs for her 55.
I don't know if I've ever seen those. That's
they've been on Dan's Fish. I don't believe he's had any in stock for a while. And then my second place, and I know Peplin Farm doesn't have them, so I go to Dan. He doesn't have them. My next stop is Wet Spot. They don't have them, and then after that, I'm like, I'm gonna wait.
Yeah. I don't think I'm getting fish for Valentine's Day. Jake would not know what to do. He would just give me pond snails because
he'd go to Petco and get you some rainbows.
Oh, he would never do that because he knows I'm a snob, but he would be like, oh, we need more pond snails. So maybe he would get me pond snails.
I can
I don't
help with that.
know. Jake does give good presents though, just not fish presents. So I can't complain. He does a good job.
Alex said,
CO2
don't y'all have
timer.
CO2? Yeah, we do have CO2 on
Yeah.
timers.
Yeah.
The solenoid opens at most of them for me, I think open at like 6, 7 a.m.
Mine
something
go
like
on an hour before my lights come on, and then they go off an hour before their lights go on.
It's
People
good
usually do
practice.
some variation on that. Usually works. Maybe you don't need quite that cushion if you have a small tank. Maybe you need a couple hours if you have a great big super tanker that you're trying to do. So yeah, I do. So you can run your CO2 24/7. I don't. It's not necessary. Waste CO2. I just don't do that. It's not necessary. And solenoids, every regulator can have solenoids. So yes, and I use the Casa timer, which is a Wi-Fi timer. It's very easy to use. Even I can figure it out and set it up. And I love those. They're cheap too. You can get them at the co-op. All right, Jody P. She's got her RO unit up and running. Way to go. What's a good ratio to start with? Adding it in my absolutely awesome auto. Oh, God, your water's so hard there. I would
So
raise it.
remember she has a
Yeah.
KH of 15. So just keeping that in mind, like how far down do you think you would take it, and how
I would
slowly or quickly would you do
eventually,
that?
I mean, it depends on if you feel like 100% RO. You could do that if you wanted. Otherwise, I mean, if you want to add back some of the RO, because your water's clean, it's just hard. You could add back enough water to get it to maybe KH 1 or 2 if you wanted, which, it just depends on the ratio of water you're adding. But I would do this a little gradually. Like, I wouldn't do this all of a sudden to your fish. Like, give them a little time. So, like, maybe the first week, I don't know, maybe give them 20 or 25% RO. This is just guessing and knowing what fish you have. I think they'd be okay with that. And then gradually ramping up from there every week, I think would be good. I don't know. I don't use RO, so this is all guessing.
Yeah, I mean, it just depends on what you have in there.
Yeah.
You don't have to go extraordinarily slow with that. It's just whenever you are diluting minerals, if you have fish that are accustomed to harder water, then it
Yeah,
might be a little tough on them.
they just need a, they need a minute. I just wouldn't do it all at once. I would maybe do it over the course of like 4 weeks, maybe. I don't know, because it's a pretty big jump for you.
Yeah,
And
I mean
I would take it down to a KH of 2, maybe, or 1. Because why not?
people cringe at that because it's like that feels like there's not enough buffer. But
like lots of people are running their tanks at KH 0, and they keep rainbows, and they have gorgeous plants, and they're fine. So
I guess it also depends on what your water change routine is and what you're willing to do.
Yeah.
Because having a KH of 0 or 1 is fantastic for me if I had that, because I always do, weekly or 10-day water changes. And so there's never an issue of running out of buffer for, weak acids.
Yeah, but I think that danger is maybe a little overstated. I mean, I think that.
Well, yeah, new Aquarius here, pH crash, and then that becomes like the thing to avoid at all costs, and every that's
I would say that the reason I wouldn't take it down to 0 is like, why should you pay for GH booster? Use a little bit of your Iowa water to add back to it. You can grow so many plants. Yeah,
I spend $10 a month just to add frickin'
especially
GH to
you have a 200-gallon tank. I mean, so I would reconstitute. Your water is clean. It's just hard. Whereas if I don't know, like WYP, his water is just the devil. So
Matt
I would
M's asking
like 2 points. Yeah.
Yeah. And also, we're going to be having Jody P on the stream next week.
Yes, we'll
talk about CO2.
And very exciting. And her great big tank she has. So exciting. So, Steven, do you hatch BBS regularly? I had a streak of 2 weeks before I left for Colombia that
Good
I was
job. That's what I do too.
well, you know
I'll
what?
be gung ho about it for 2
What
weeks, and
helped
then
me was those easy hatch eggs.
yeah.
They're just so, as the name would imply, they're so easy.
To
It,
me, it's just routine. If I get an
yeah,
interruption in my routine of doing something, then it'll be months before I get back
to
into it.
me, it's a time thing. I'm just not
Mhm.
willing to spend 20 minutes on hatching live food. I just don't
Yeah,
do it. Whereas this, it's roughly 2 minutes of work. I don't count the time where I sit and watch them eat. That's kind of just entertainment. But it's 2 minutes of work. I love them. The easy hatch eggs. They're great. So CO2 with scaleless fish or frogs. I know you have to be careful with medication with scales and fish and frogs. But what about CO2? I don't think there's a difference. Just keep an eye on them. Different fish, and I've never kept African dwarf frogs, so take this with a grain of salt. Different organisms are more sensitive than others. Just gotta watch them. You
yeah,
just
and
gotta watch.
it's not like the carbonic acid and the amount that it produces is corrosive to flesh in that
Yeah,
amount.
they gasp. They
Yeah,
gasp
it's just
for
it's
air.
strictly an oxygen uptake issue
Yeah,
with
because oxygen, there's too much when there's too much CO2 dissolved in the water. So, and this is how your lungs work too. The concentration of the CO2, if it has to be higher in your lungs than it is outside for the CO2 to exit your body,
mhm.
right? And that's how gills work too. And if it's too high outside, they can't expel the CO2 from their body. And so they gasp at the surface. So skin has nothing to do with that. And, and as for the medication thing, I've heard some people say that's a myth. I don't know.
I
I
do
mean,
know that
yeah,
when the
we
co-op
never worried
was
about
testing the med trio, they never did like the recommended half dose. It was either it was full dose or there was no point
it. Yeah,
with any fish. So
yeah.
and
So that's
they've
something to
treated,
consider.
I don't know, a billion bajillion fish. So I imagine
And I
it's
don't know that they sell the African dwarf frogs. I don't know about that. That would be the one where
yeah.
maybe they're
I know
different.
nothing about the frogs.
My, I mean, I knew people who worked with him in the lab. Well, they were the clawed ones, which are not the same. So I don't know. I don't know. But with fish, I don't think the scales affect their sensitivity to the meds. Certainly not to CO2, though. You just got to watch them for the gasping at the surface.
Hmm.
Just got to watch it. And if they start to gasp, they're not going to die. You just got to turn it down. It's nothing to panic about. Now, if you leave them gasping, they're going to die.
Yeah.
Like if you bump your regulator, which Steve and I have both done, when we've lost fish. That's why it's good to keep your regulator in the stand. If you have kids, like put a child lock on it. Or if you have an exuberant dog who might have their tail bump it. Yeah. Gotta.
Jody P. Gifting 10
Jody.
memberships. Thank you, Jody.
Thank you, Jody. God, you got to be maxed out, I would think.
It comes and goes. Like they last a month and they expire. But Jody has maxed me out many, many, many times. I think they all actually went through this time.
She's a woman on a mission. She and Jeff
Yeah.
Kane. Jeff Kane is not a woman on a mission, though. He's a manly man. All right, only Oscars June says, what was the name of the plant you sent to Mexicali? It was a big old sword. It was a Socarno sword. And it was huge.
SOEKARNO.
Yes. And I mean, if your Oscars would leave it alone while it was getting established, which I think they would. I mean, because you've done other swords. Oh, Jesus, it does get big. And you've got big tanks, so you're a good candidate. And you've got that soft water, too. That helps. So that'd be a good one for you, June. And it's pretty. It's real pretty. All right, Lisa. I've got blackbeard algae. Ugh, it's the worst. On some Anubias. Just cut those leaves off. Just cut them off. Cut them down to the
Yeah.
rhizome.
Unfortunately, it's going to be
Yeah.
slow to come back, but Blackbeard is going to appear
Yeah.
on our organic waste and leaves that are not doing the best, and
Yeah.
they're kind of on their way out.
Yeah. And Anubias likes to be a little more shaded.
Yeah.
So even my tanks are somewhat highlight, but I try to put the Anubias in areas of the tank that are just a little shaded. And they seem to prefer that. But I never try to mess with rehabbing. And I get a little bit of spot algae on my Anubias. Just cut it off. It will regrow from the rhizome, healthy new leaves. It's not worth trying to save it. Just cut it off.
Yeah, you got to play the long game with
Yep.
Anubias. Tuck
Yep.
it in a corner in the shade. It's gonna grow. It's gonna grow faster than you think as long as you leave it alone and don't try to accelerate the growth with light, because light will drive demand for nutrients
Yeah.
and CO2, and you will not have that amount of CO2 and nutrients for that plant to uptake.
Likes to be more shaded, just like in your terrestrial plants, like hostas like to be a little more shaded.
Mm-hmm.
It's just the way they are. So.
How many dwarf neon rainbows would you put in a 40-gallon with an electric blue acara and like 6 glass cats, 2 bristlenose, 2 hillstream loaches, 2 yellowtail spiny eels, and 5 coolie loaches?
I don't know, like 15 sounds good.
That's a lot for a 40, but
I don't know. They don't get that big. Yeah. I have a lot of fish in my tanks. I'm a believer in adding a lot of fish.
I mean, I was gonna say like 8 to 10, so split.
I was gonna say 15 because I said 15. I would probably go 15. If you don't feel comfortable with that many, you could do less. Like the hill streams, there's no bioload there. I guess the yellow spiny eels, they get sort of big. The coolie loaches, there's no bioload there. The glass cats, here's where your problem might be. I mean, Steven, you have glass cats. You have rainbows. Is that a good mix? I don't think
they're not mixed together. I don't know.
Oh, they're not mixed together. Yeah,
in fact, they don't have much competition in terms of feeding. They are very timid, and
yeah, I would not do that mix. I would not do that mix.
Well, I mean, I never want to tell someone don't do it. I would say here's the risk, and food competition is the risk. So observe, and if it's not working out, have a backup plan.
Yeah, my guess is those glass cats are going to cower in the back of the tank.
That's what they do anyway. So
yeah, rainbows are especially dwarf neons, which I have had before, are kind of annoying fish. They're very zippy. They are very quick to the food. They're front and center always, which is why they're great. They're beautiful. But not every fish, even though they're peaceful, is compatible with a rainbow. So for instance, I had dwarf neon rainbows, so Melanitania praecox. I had them with cardinals. Not a good match. The cardinals just cower in the back of the tank. They're not happy together. So I would just consider it. Honestly, I wouldn't do it, but if you want to do it, have a backup plan, as Steven says. But I would
always have a backup plan when you're trying mixes like that. But and I've made stuff work that supposedly doesn't work, and it's just about there's some tricks to like food competition and line of sight breaks, and you can set up a tank to make things that traditionally are not supposed to work okay. But it's definitely about observation and really considering.
Sometimes when you think things are working, they're really not. So like I had pseudomcgills in with my bigger rainbows, which I was like, oh yeah, it's working okay. It's working fine. I just noticed them really disappear over time. They don't live.
Well, that's something you can observe with, with your own eyes.
Yeah, they don't live. They don't live that long, but
right.
They're just not happy. They're just not happy. I don't know. I wouldn't do it because glass cats are kind of precious in my opinion because they're hard to find and they're hard to get healthy. I think because they always are sickly and I don't know. I wouldn't do it.
Ours have been okay, except for that one time we lost like 5 of them at once, and it's one of those things where it's really annoying because I still to this day have no freaking clue why.
Yeah, I guess I wouldn't do it, even though I love Melanitania praecox. I wouldn't do it. So,
see, sounds like Kelly needs some Malaysian trumpet snails more. What?
I mean, I probably have gotten them. I've got plants from Steven. They do seem to be proliferating.
I have some that exist in a few tanks and don't reproduce like crazy, and then I had one tank where they just took over, and
When I
I'm
was in Iowa,
guessing it's just the stocking combination.
with that hard water in Iowa, there is so much dissolved calcium carbonate for them to build shells with. It's just
Yeah,
really
and then in a
easy to get out of
well-stocked
control.
rainbow tank where you're feeding a lot anyway, there's no shortage of food and waste and stuff for them to
Yeah,
feed on
I mean, that's
and
been the nice
substrate.
thing about feeding baby brine is I feel like I can really power feed the rainbows and they eat all of it. Like
And they'll eat the hydra that grows as a result of it too.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I haven't noticed any hydra, but they would eat it. So
When I do the power feeding of the baby brine, rainbow tanks, no hydra. The less stock tanks like with the chili rasboras, that was like tons and tons of hydra.
I
Just
wonder if with
insane.
the easy eggs, there's no hydra because they remove the shells with bleach.
But no, it's not about the hydra in the baby brine. It's the hydra that just freaking love baby
That's
brine shrimp.
that's true.
They're always kind of around and just not proliferating until there's just all of this micro
That's
food swimming
true.
around for them to grab onto.
They're just not an issue with rainbows because they will eat it all. They will eat it all.
Let's see. Harley Cross, welcome. Didn't know you were streaming until you gifted a membership. Well, we'll thank Jody.
Welcome to the
You're welcome.
stream.
Did Kelly say no hardness and rainbows? You wouldn't dare say such a thing.
I mean, you have no hardness in your water, Ryan. I don't know. Are you adding any back? Like, I don't think you are. Cali Jacora is a rainbow that I believe prefers soft water, but has anyone tested that yet? Has anyone tried to keep them in harder water? This is what I want to know because they're a really pretty rainbow.
Harder or yeah.
Because Ryan is not harder water. Ryan has like
What about Greg Zydek?
He's
What
the
is
water
his hardness
I am
level?
jealous of. He uses our water in his tank, so his KH is zero. His pH probably. I mean, you could look up his spreadsheet. He does publish that. It's probably like 2 or 3. All right, your GH is testing 140 to 200 ppm. Your KH, your water is pretty soft, so you're not gonna. So to get the degrees on that, you divide it by what, like 17.9.
17.9 or whatever.
Yeah, so divide it by like 17, which is what I usually do. It gets you close enough. So let me tell you how many degrees are there.
7.8 on the low end. So like 7.8 to 10. GH, it's pretty standard. KH 50, it's pretty low. That's what, like 4?
Yeah. That's really great. Or
3.
Yeah,
2.9.
That's water I would love to have, but still
don't change it.
You don't change it. Like, God, that water is great because you have a little bit of GH, so you don't have to add any, but your KH is low. I'm jealous. That's great water. You're probably gonna have to add more CO2 than that, though. 1 bubble a second is just
that was somebody.
55 is not.
This is Crystal C.
Oh, Crystal C, different person.
Yep.
I can't remember what Crystal C asked.
I think she was just testing her water.
I mean, we approve.
That's some fine H2O. High quality H2O.
Steven and I are pretty jealous of your water. That's pretty great. So yeah, don't change
Vibes.
it.
Thanks for the super chat and this unhinged question from Vibes. Half dose of cottage cheese or full dose?
I mean, I can take a full dose of cottage cheese. Steven can take 0 dose.
0 cottage cheese.
I'm okay with cottage cheese. I like it with some fruit. Is nice, some berries. I don't know if I'm as enthusiastic about it as Vibes is because no one is. I wonder who hates cottage cheese more, though, you or Jake. That's tough.
I mean, neither does he not eat it?
No, he will not.
I am completely anti cottage cheese.
He will not eat it. He will not eat it. He will not eat creamy condiments. He will not eat cream cheese. He will not eat cheesecake. I mean, also like
eat it
the
on
lactose.
A train, not eat it in a plane.
He
do not like it here or there.
He cannot handle the lactose in cheesecake, but Yeah, he won't eat it. I mean, if I were to put it as an ingredient in something, he would eat it. But he's not going to cut his shoes clean. So, yeah.
Let's see. Scrolling because I'm really
Scrolling,
behind.
chat's moving fast. Hip Hop Hillbilly says, I'm a big overfeeder of my tanks. My African dwarf frogs are slow, derpy eaters, and they are doing fine. But thinking I'm gonna move them to my 10-gallon by themselves before the rainbows. I think that's probably a good idea because the rainbows might be annoying them. And they're pretty happy in a 10-gallon. I've known people who've had them. So, that might be a good idea.
Stan,
Rainbows
I
like
would.
zippy fish,
Yeah,
unless they're like Corys, which are kind of in their own niche, or Hillstream loaches, when sure in a different niche. But if you need midwater swimmers, you want zippy fish like Daniels or Barbs.
I would never, ever, ever make fun of your swamp tank, Stan. I just think the idea of calling it a swamp tank is funny because I mean swamps are actually pretty healthy systems. So
It's true.
if you've
Well,
got a
and
swamp, like
Steven
use
lives
it,
in the swamp.
yeah, like calling something a swamp tank as a negative in a negative way is just kind of funny. It kind of
I mean,
shows that that person doesn't understand the system that a swamp is.
swamps are
But
great, and he's a big swamp pea.
damn right.
That's right.
Vibes,
Movies
thanks.
is shady. Is Vibe shady? You know who's really shady? Shady Grady.
Where is that shady Mike
Where is that Shady Grady?
doing shady things?
Jeff, you madman.
Oh my god.
Jeff, don't
I
you
was
know the
like, I'm
plant
so
farm
behind
is
in chat.
draining at the seams?
I think Jeff was doing this so that he could just flood the chat since we were behind in chat. Like, well, let's just.
He's gonna slow the chat down. Well, thank you, Jeff.
Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you, everyone, for helping to send Fat Kitty to college.
Hell yeah.
That's right.
All right. Scrolling. So
The chat is moving so fast. We're doing our best, people.
it's insane.
Steven and I are not very
Calm
organized
down,
people. We
people.
don't have Jenna. Like, we're doing our best. But Jenna has things to do. She has to cook dinner for the peas.
It's important.
That's right.
Oh yeah, you saw this one.
Yeah. And I support you in that decision. I would move those frogs.
Let's see. The Crypt Kii are doing well.
Ooh,
they have not melted back.
Cool.
Separated them into 7 individual plants. Never mailed anything, but as soon as the weather gets warm, I will send you 2. All right.
Nice. I've never grown that one, Daniel. That's awesome.
Fantastic. Yeah.
I love crypts. Crypts are great. And if you send it to Steven, eventually it will come to me. So I support you in this.
I will make space in the plant farm.
Nice. Cool. Where did you get that, Daniel? Let us know. Was it a tissue culture? Apparently, if it's 7 individual plants. That's awesome. Daniel is another person who has really good water. His water is very soft.
And he injects CO2 as
he
well.
Does. Daniel, he knows what he's doing. It's true.
Strange thing happened in my tank over the last 3 months. Some ram's horn snails showed up. And at first I freaked out. Then I decided to see what will happen. They have eaten all the BBA. Who knew?
Who knew? Well, I have never noticed ram's horn snails to eat BBA, but there are different strains of BBA and there are different strains of ram's horns. And way to go. I mean, if your BBA is already kind of dying, so if you see it turning like
the reddish,
lavender, purplish at the tips, it's dying. And your snails and your fish will pick at it and it will die. So maybe it was already dying. I don't know. But who cares, right? You got rid of your BBA. And unless you wanted the BBA, in which case I'm sorry, but I hate BBA.
Sorry about your BBA, Carlos.
I guess. Yeah.
Ram's horns, they are voracious. They will eat a lot of stuff. I like them.
It's true. Yeah, I like them too. I think they look good. I have the pink ones. I think they're pretty. Yeah. I'm team snail. Maybe not every snail, but a lot of snails. Not Malaysian trumpet snails. Not on that team. Ooh.
They're all right. I wish the puffers would eat them because I have a lot of those, and that would
My
be extra
son,
crunchy.
when I broke down that tank when I moved out of Iowa, the substrate was 98% Malaysian trumpet snail shell. It was awful. It was awful.
Yep, Jeff, making fun of the Hydra farm. It's what you get trying to breed all them fish. He's hatching baby brine like a madman as well.
I mean, in many ways, Jeff is a madman. Not just
Definitely.
one. Not just one, in many ways.
Have you seen his fish room punk sticker?
No.
Let's see if I've got it here.
I've missed Extremies because I've been traveling, so I have not seen it, but I want to see it.
We had the Steam Thoughts on last Friday.
I know, and I'm sure it was super fun because they're great people.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I don't have it near me, so.
Well, that's okay. I'll see it later. That's cool, though. I'm pretty jealous of Jeff's fish room, though. It looks great.
It's fancy.
It's pretty awesome.
It's pretty bougie fish room.
It is pretty bougie, but you know what? Jeff is kind of bougie.
Although he's going to add that middle aisle, and then wide bodies such as myself would have trouble navigating a fish room like that. I started knocking shit over.
That is a hazard of being a large mammal. It's true. I mean, I feel that way too sometimes. I'm not exactly tiny. If I had Oinky's body, I'd be very maneuverable. All right, my preferred way to test KH and GH. Man, I like the API liquid kit for a good baseline. If you want quick tests, I think the strips work fine.
Yeah, I think when you're getting the baseline for your tap water or various tanks, I do like the liquid test for a little bit more precision. But then after that, you're sort of just testing for the presence or absence of or range or reduction, and
yeah, and
not a huge deal.
Honestly, I don't really test much anymore. My water does not change over the season. I'm really lucky that way. So I don't really test. But when I set up new tanks, I test. When I moved into this house and started keeping fish here, I tested the water. If I buy another house, I'm going to when I go to the house visits with the realtor, I'm gonna have my test kit with me. So
Usama loves Danios. Me too.
Danios are cool. I'm team Danio. They're zippy. I love zippy fish. And Danio Rario, the zebra Danio, is a hero of medicine because they are a model system. We know so much about what happens to our own bodies because of the zebrafish. So pretty cool.
All right. Vibe says, let's see how long until I see this. Well, 7 minutes.
We saw it.
7 minutes. Not so bad.
Not too bad. I mean, we're doing our best, but like, you guys are chatty, and there's so many new people, which we love. I mean, we love having new people.
Yeah, and again, if we missed a question, tag me, do whatever.
Just ask it again.
Chat and all this, yeah.
Just ask it in. And if you're a new person lurking, like, say hi. We love new people.
So, for real.
That's right. All right, I'm scrolling past Jeff's 50 memberships.
Good luck.
Well, I'm not on the YouTube side, so they don't show up.
Barbara. Oh, wait. Okay, never mind. I saw that one. Barbara said, I have a lot of old BBS eggs that have a low hatch rate. Would it be worth it to decap them to feed unhatched? Maybe. Or now too old and possibly a poor food choice now?
They might. I mean, I think it's worth a try because I use the decapsulated eggs, and if they don't hatch, they still eat them.
Right.
Rainbows kind of eat whatever's in their mouth, but they do eat them, and maybe they will hatch better. Maybe. So I think it's worth a shot. I mean,
so how do you decapsulate them? I think it's like a bleach.
It's bleach.
Yeah.
Because bleach dissolves chitin, which is I think what the eggshells are made of. Because I have dechitin other creatures. Like I used to work on, as an undergrad, I worked in a couple different labs with nematodes. And yeah, you decapsulate the eggs. So yeah, with bleach. So I think that, maybe on Brine Shrimp Direct's website, It would tell you how to decapsulate them. They have a lot of information on their website. I would give it a shot though, Barbara. You're out nothing. I mean, if you were going to throw these out anyways, give it a go. Give it a go.
Oh, there's Shady Mike. I said I can't squeeze a word in edgewise between all the free memberships. I know.
He's shady. He's shady.
And Jeff did this on Friday too. He gifted 50 on Friday.
He's a madman. He's a madman. He cannot.
The most supportive troll out there.
He cannot be stopped. He will not be stopped. Oh, Daniel. Daniel says he will send 2 to me also. A friend of his from the Brooklyn Aquarium Society sent them. And Daniel asked them for info since you bid on the plant on Facebook. They're very pretty and healthy. Well, that's very nice of you, Daniel. And I will happily give them a good home because I love new crypts. So that's awesome. And they have so many good plant growers in Brooklyn because they have perfect water there. It's just perfect. It's KH of nothing. So, yeah.
Nice.
They don't have room for big tanks, but, you know, in New York apartments. But they can grow plants.
Edwin Mejia says, thanks for the membership.
Is that a new person too?
I feel like I've seen the name before, but new-ish to me.
We love new people.
Maybe a long-time lurker.
Yeah, and guys, we have a Discord. It's called Fishcord, and it's awesome. And people there are very friendly, and they're helpful, and they will never, ever act like an asshole to you, except for Geek Boy. He cannot help it. He is a world-class asshole, though. That's that.
Yeah, we got to keep at least one around, though.
I mean, everybody needs one. And Mike is an asshole, a world-class asshole in training. He's not there yet because he's not as old as Geek Boy, but he will get there. So
he'll finally get as old as Geek Boy?
Hopefully. I mean, that's the goal, right? I mean, you know, what's the alternative? You know, the alternatives aren't good. So, but yes, our Fishcord, lots of really nice people. We would love to help you, chat with you, hang out with you. I mean, it's the only Discord I'm on. And mods have dropped a link, so hop on in.
I'm on a billion different Discords. I can't keep track.
I'm just on the one because I feel like I don't really want anymore. I feel like I'm getting what I need out of Fishcord. My needs are met.
Crystal C found out the hard way. Her glowfish tetras are bullies.
Oh no! Are those? So what are they? The glowing version of? Are they like
the black skirt
tetras? Those can be kind of bitches. Aren't they fin nippers?
A lot of tetras have the capacity to be fin nippers
because they are related to piranhas. And if you look at them under the microscope, there have some teeth on them. I think that coolie loaches would maybe be a good choice. Maybe they wouldn't nip those because they're kind of in a different niche. Maybe hillstream loaches would be good.
Yeah. Do
you think Corey's would be good? I think maybe.
Yeah. Maybe? I mean, I've had a slightly kind of nippy-ish tetras, but they really only kind of mess with each other, so I don't know.
Yeah, but as Crystal C says,
they're bullies.
Skirt tetras, they're assholes. Yeah, and I think that's what they made the glow out of. I would have to look up the website.
That sounds right. So we'll just declare it right.
Yeah. I mean, they're clearly not like rummy nose or neons or those are peaceful fish. I think they're the assholes. So Sue says that pretty much every glowfish is semi-aggressive. I have not heard that. I did a whole talk on glowfish at the class, yet have never kept them.
The asshole gene is also the glow gene.
I don't know about that. You know, I have made other GFP organisms, and they didn't seem to be asshole-ish in nature. Though, to be fair, a lot of the GFP organisms I have made were yeast, which are not known for being assholes. I think I have made GFP nematodes, and I don't know I don't know what jerkish behavior in a nematode would look like. I've seen GFP flies though, and they were not assholes. And flies can be kind of annoying to other flies. So I don't know about that. But good to know, Sue. Good to know.
Jake and Katie getting ready for their stream. Yep, they're streaming in about 20 minutes over on HHD. and we've got
Nice.
Scotty going in 19 minutes on Scotty the Fish Freak, and we've got the Steam Thoughts going, and there's just
It's a
too many
busy night.
streams.
So you're going to have one stream on your TV and one on your phone and one on your laptop, and you're going to have to sit on a chair that swivels so you can go between them.
Yep. Good luck being productive.
Yeah, I mean, it's just not going to happen tonight.
Nah.
So Jenna says, Steven, Zen has asked her question twice now. Is it that you hate her?
Yeah.
Maybe.
Absolutely. But I guess we'll answer it anyway.
Rainbows. She hates rainbows.
Here it is. What is the best option for getting light to the bottom of the vertical triangular prism that is the 54 bow front? It's 2 feet deep, but has a little space on top.
I mean, I think maybe the best.
How about
they used
the
to make
sunlight that shines in the dumpster that you put that tank in? Maybe.
Oh. Yeah, maybe. So that's a terrible tank. Maybe the best is one of those like old school metal halide lamps.
Oof.
Because it would be like a strong point source
Kessel.
to get to 2 feet. I would throw that tank out. That's a shitty tank. Yeah, maybe you could find a Kessel light at it would make your tank super hot in the summer though, which you don't need.
I don't know, just something bright as hell that fits on top of it. That.
Yeah, I mean, does Chihiro's make a square shaped fixture? They maybe do. I don't know. You might have to look. Maybe they do.
It was my first tank. I didn't know. Well, now you know.
Now you know. And turns out there are other tanks.
That's what curbside pickup is for, or curb alert on your neighborhood Facebook group.
There you go. Just put it out there.
Pass that evil on to someone else.
So Nancy B says that she thinks that the glow tetras used to be all skirt tetras, the first ones, but now they're Pristella tetras too. I've never kept a Pristella tetra. Are they also assholes? I don't know. Oh, it's the one that Hillstreams breed in. What?
Zen was saying it's the tank that her Hillstreams breed in, so
we
wouldn't want to get rid of that.
Kind of a magical tank. I would look on Chihiro's website and see what they have. If you go to chihiros.com, they have a lot of fixtures. They might have a square-shaped small fixture that you could try. I think that's what I would do.
Kelly, did you ever use CRISPR, discovered by 2 women, one at Cal and one in Paris?
Right.
Chinese guy tried to take credit.
Charpentier and Jennifer Doudna. I heard them speak. So here's the cool thing about yeast. It's the gift of the gods. This is why yeast is one of the OG genetic systems. You can do site-directed recombination, so site-directed gene replacement with no CRISPR. You don't need it. So we've been doing site-directed gene replacement since the 70s. If I wanted to make a mutant by 2 days later, I would have one, and with no problem, with a selectable marker.
What kind of mutant?
Oh, all kinds of them. I mean, I was a yeast geneticist. I made hundreds of mutants. But in other organisms, in other eukaryotes, so that would be organisms with chromosomes, you could not do site-directed mutagenesis. So what is that? So that is where you are knocking out a gene, making a mutation in the place where you want it to happen, as opposed to at random in the genome. You know, that's very slow because you would just blam it with a bunch of like a mutagen or x-rays, and you would sort through thousands and thousands and thousands of organisms looking for the one you wanted. And in mice, you could make knockout mice and knock-in mice. There were tricks, but you didn't have site-directed mutagenesis until CRISPR, which was made by Jennifer Doudna and Emmanuelle Charpentier. I thought Emmanuelle Charpentier is, and she's not in Paris though. She's in Canada. She's French Canadian, if I recall. I have heard Jennifer Doudna speak. She's very cool. But I never had to do CRISPR because I worked on yeast. And site-directed mutagenesis is a gift of the gods, homologous recombination. So you don't have to. So.
Well, sweet.
I taught a whole class on CRISPR, though. So I know a lot about it.
Bob says
Right.
Priscilla Tetra are indeed assholes.
Good to know. There's an authority you can trust. He's an authority on asshole fish. At
Whip,
least they acknowledge your existence then. Also, hi, Zeddy.
Whip, did you have a question or
You
like
have,
a
I mean,
comment that we happened to miss or something?
to
Yeah,
be
because that's
fair, Whip does not go unnoticed. He is a very tall man.
yeah.
He cannot hide.
Can you make this? You can make a second Scotty. That sounds sexy.
Do we need two Scotties? I mean, maybe you could stack
Around
one on
clash
top of the
time,
other.
probably.
You could stack one on top of the other then and just have one really tall Scotty. Maybe. So Stan Pittman says we need a Jeff K mutant. I mean,
We could all use a clone from time to time that we just terminate when we're done with.
You want to do my corporate job?
Yeah.
I aggressively did my corporate job.
It can't have aspirations and dreams because you would want it to do all the stuff you don't want. So that's hard to do.
If it were my clone, it would have aspirations and dreams, and it would not behave. It would not be tractable because I'm not. So it would be difficult. Oh, Too Cooley for Schoolie says that redheads are the best mutants. True. Same, and for cats, orange kitty.
Polydactyl cats, is that a mutation?
Yeah, and that you can be polydactyl human too.
What? And 6 fingers?
It's the same gene or more. Yeah, or toes. And it's dominantly inherited. So you only need one copy of it to be polydactyl. And yeah, humans can be polydactyl too. It's not as common as in cats, but it does happen. Doesn't hurt your viability or anything though. You live fine. All right. Anyone else think it would be awesome to get Jason from Primetime Aquatics on here to talk science and fish with y'all? I mean, I don't really know him well. I didn't get to meet him at the Clash because he gave his talks really early in the morning. I don't know. It seemed like he was doing all the morning stuff, and I'm not a morning.
I found Dan before I found him, and so I was always on Dan's stream for a while, not realizing that he also streamed at that time. So now I'm able to like catch the end of his stream on Thursdays. But yeah, the guy knows his stuff. And I actually at Aquashella 2022, when they were doing the live streams, I was his interviewer for that stream.
Nice.
So we had some interaction.
Yeah, I don't know him, but I'm not opposed. He seems like a cool guy.
Well, I watch his videos for sure. Like, he definitely knows his stuff.
He makes good videos. Like, he had a video about why it's okay to clean your filter media in tap water.
Yeah.
And it had really great evidence supporting it. And I agreed with what he said. I thought he did a really good job. So, I mean, most of his videos, I think, are a little more suited to beginners, which is awesome because beginners should go somewhere with good quality information.
Yeah.
So that's good.
They need quality information and they need repetition, harping the same concepts.
Yeah. He's doing the work. It's awesome. So if he wanted to be on the stream, I'm all for it. I don't know how much he knows about plants though, but that doesn't mean he wouldn't want to hang out.
Well, Joanna, his wife.
Joanna.
She's
And I have met her a little bit more because we judged something together at Aquashella, and she's just the sweetest person. She's very nice. So yeah, I'd hang out with her too. Mm-hmm. And they're both friends with Oinky, I think. And well, who doesn't love Oinky? So Jody says that polydactyl is a trait that Maine Coons, the kitties, were known for, and is also a natural trait. I did not know that about Maine Coons. They are very, very big kitties. They are even bigger than Big Kitty, who is a very big, fluffy kitty. And speaking of kitties, a certain kitty is approaching. Will he come over? Hey, meow, kitty. Where are you, fat kitty?
Have you ever kept thread fins?
Yes. They're so beautiful.
Too Cool is asking, are they delicate?
I think that maybe you just didn't get good ones. I was able to get really, really good ones. Oh, critter. Oh, I missed him. He missed me. I think if you get good ones, I don't think they are particularly. I don't think they're particularly delicate.
And are they jumpers?
Much like this cat.
That cat does not look like a
rainbows.
jumper.
He's a great jumper. He's the most athletic of the cats. You wouldn't think it,
Really?
but it's true. He's an elite athlete who never moves. How are you doing, cat?
He's just saving up energy, I guess. Like, let me go. No.
Yeah, I think I would never trust them without a lid. They're not like true rainbows, but they're actually closer related to rainbows than they are to pseudomagills. And I just wouldn't trust them not to jump. I thought mine were pretty hardy. You wouldn't want to keep them with fin nippers, that's for sure. I would love to get some again. I really love them. They're so pretty. They're so pretty.
Fat Kitty is full of potential energy.
Full of potential energy. Just full of it. He just doesn't want to move. So Scotty has reported he is going to the bathroom.
Well, have a good tinkle.
It's important.
We'll give everyone 8 minutes to make your stream choices, set up your various devices, get them all pulled up.
That's right.
And all of that. And I'm going to have some dinner. And
I'm going to have some dinner too. And I'm going to call Jake. And we're so grateful you are here. And there's so many new people. And we love having new people. We're so excited about that.
Old people too. Old people are good.
I don't know.
Lurkers are great.
I mean, are we really excited about Zen being here? We do hate her after all.
Well, I tried to ignore her question, but Jenna wouldn't let me.
We tried.
Yeah.
Oh, vibes.
Vibes. Thank you. And I just got out of my car after being home for 25 minutes. Lost time while watching.
It's not the worst way to waste time. It's not the worst. Thank you, everyone who gave memberships at Super Chatted and who asked your questions and our fabulous mods. I missed you guys, even though I was really enjoying vacation as opposed to being cold. So, but we should be back here next week with a special guest.
Very special guest.
I mean, we could have kept it a secret, but we forgot to do that. So it's Jody.
I saw Jody talk about RO, and I'm like, we're having Jody on, and yeah,
it's Jody P. So you can get to know her. She's a pretty cool lady. So yeah.
But we've got oh wait, Shirley, did we miss a question? Because we got a few minutes. There it is. Here it is. Sorry. What are some good plants that can take axolotl conditions? Very little light, no fertilizer. So I remember Roxanne talking about axolotls and all of the slime that they exude, and they coat plants, and plants don't really do well with that.
I would pick more sturdy plants like Anubias, so they don't need a lot of light either. Axolotls poop a lot, so you're probably getting a lot of nutrition in the water column from that. As for temperatures, plants prefer cooler water. So
yeah, I think it's the slimy slime stuff. It's gross. But yeah,
but you should ask
would know. There might be a few plants that do okay, but in
he's
general,
a good person to ask. My guess would be Anubias is a good choice. So, but if it starts to get slimy and die, just move it to another tank.
And then one last one from Coro. How do you feel about the concept of attention or time as a form of currency? We pay attention and waste time, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think that, you're a dad. Isn't the most valuable thing you do for your children beyond feeding them and clothing them and sheltering them?
Time and attention.
Spend time with them. Yeah. That's the best thing you do as a father. So,
yeah. I mean, and attention costs time, and time is
money,
limited, and yeah. So
I think there's something to it. So that's why we're grateful you chose to spend your time with us.
Yep, and we took
Yeah.
away a few more minutes that we
From
said we were going to give to you, but
time
that's
you
what the
could
point
be.
is.
Oh no, we've got to say like, I'll give you your time back.
All right, we're going to give you your 5 minutes back.
Give you your 4 minutes back. Spend it wisely. All right, bye everyone.
Bye.